So tell me, Goku, why do you seek even more strength than you have already?
The Tournament of Power opened my eyes. No way I can stay at the same level I'm at now. I'm fired up. That must be the guy.
I don't know who he is, but his energy's absurd. Do it, Broly!
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Matt Goes to the Movies, and today we are going to be discussing Dragon Ball Z Super, Broly the movie, one of my absolute faves, and kicking off right after the Tournament of Power. This movie is a continuation of the Dragon Ball Super show, one that I actually saw twice in the theaters and am super eager to talk about. So with this episode comes a brand new segment called Penny for Your Thoughts, where I gather feedback from listeners that have posted on social media pages such as TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and just kind of react to their thoughts. So what I'd like to do is I'm actually going to start this show off with that segment called Penny for Your Thoughts and talk a little bit about Dragon Ball Super Broly and piggyback off of what listeners think. So one listener says, awesome movie, great story, everything a DBZ fan could ask for. That's from Lorenzo. And yeah, I absolutely would agree with that statement. I think this really is everything you could ask for out of a Dragon Ball movie. Great action, great story, a retcon of Broly's origin, which I know a lot of fans were never really happy with in the original adaptation of Broly. I thought they did a fantastic job of bringing him into this universe from the Dragon Ball Super show. I was very, very impressed. We had another one. I saw it on the big screen twice with a friend of mine. Absolutely loved it. Same. I saw this twice. Once the first day it came out, and then I actually went back the very next day. So was really, really excited to see that. One listener actually states that although this is a really good movie, their favorite is Resurrection F, which I really like that movie. I think it does, for me, actually come in second of the Dragon Ball movies. But for me, it still would be Dragon Ball Super Broly, the movie, that comes in number one. However, just some of the listener feedback, which is really cool to get and interact and see what they thought of this. So, you know, like I said, going into this movie specifically, though, this takes place right after Dragon Ball Super. Earth is at peace after the Tournament of Power, but Goku wants to continue training. He knows that he needs to get stronger, that there's probably other people out there that will challenge him, and he wants to continue training. And that comes in the form of Broly, who is an unknown Saiyan to them. They had no clue that he existed. He was outcast when he was a child due to his power level, and his father wants revenge. And that's how this whole movie stems, is trying to control his son, get him to be powerful so he can go back and overthrow King Vegeta, which you get really great scenes of Broly as a kid growing up, being trained, why his father was so hard on him. Frieza wants to exploit that. You have Goku, you know, like I said, trying to continue his training. Vegeta, just as grumpy as ever. Always fun to just watch him. And you get incredible action in this movie. The animation is absolutely top notch. I was super impressed with how this film was made. The fight choreography is incredible. The way that it paces itself during the battles is just great. You get an hour behind the scenes, so to speak. You don't see it, but it always makes me laugh anytime I rewatch this movie, that as Vegeta and Goku are trying to fuse, Frieza is back getting the snot beat out of him by Broly for an hour, because that's how long it takes them to actually fuse up. You get the incredible fight scene between Broly and Vegito, which, again, just the pacing of these battles, how it goes from Goku to Vegeta to Super Saiyan to just every level in between, is so well paced. My only real complaint about this movie, and I've heard rumors, but I've never heard a concrete evidence that it does exist, is when we get to see Bardock. I would have liked to see his final stand, because there's a weird transition in this movie where you go from he's going to go fight and he's going to try and stop Frieza from destroying the planet to he's standing in front of the ship all like battle torn and beat up and making his last stand. I have heard that there's a cut of the movie that actually shows him fighting. I hope we actually get that, because I feel like that was a real missed opportunity. So I'm hoping at one point to actually see that feature in this release. Now, I do want to talk about still, though, the animation in that final battle where everything is so well done in this movie. The fight scenes are crisp. The color palette is amazing. The music for the soundtrack just absolutely fits. That is why this is, for me, my top Dragon Ball movie. Is just the pacing is off the charts. Well, I like Resurrection F and some of the other Dragon Ball movies. The pacing never feels correct. There always seems to be a drag. In Dragon Ball Super Broly, this movie never drags on for me. It goes at an incredible clip, but never seems too fast. Again, the way that the battles ramp up in intensity through each new progression with a character fits incredibly well. And there's a really good story behind it of someone who is forced to, kind of be something they don't want to be, and only knowing the fight, which is how Broly is raised. He's only raised to be a weapon for his father. There's actually a really funny scene where his father is killed by Frieza, but the way that Frieza reacts to it and tells Broly, like, oh no, he was hit by a stray blast, and that just causes Broly to rage out. Like, that was a really funny moment by Frieza that actually, every time I watch it, it makes me laugh. But I also really like the ending where they get to send Broly back and Goku comes to see him so that he can train. Typical Goku wants to continue to train, get better. But the ending, when I went and saw it in theaters, the opening night that they released it in theaters, a lot of Dragon Ball fans there, so it's a great crowd to be with. And when he said, "Oh, my name's Goku, but you can call me Kakarot," the theater erupted with applause and cheers. Like, that was so fun to be a part of. I've had many moments like that with movies like Endgame, Batman Begins, just to mention a few, where it's so fun to be a part of an audience that loves the material and really just enjoys the movie. That is why it's, so nice here in New York that movie theaters have reopened, because, man, I forget how much I miss that experience of not only seeing a movie on the big screen, but depending on the movie, having the interaction, with the crowd and just seeing a common denominator for strangers to just have a good time and unwind for a little bit. So that's going to be it for my review of Dragon Ball Z Super Broly. A very, very good movie. If you've never checked it out, definitely make sure that you do. It is absolutely my favorite. You can watch it on streaming services, about $2.99 to rent this movie. So I would highly recommend it. Is worth the $2.99 price tag to watch this fantastic representation for Dragon Ball. And at Matt Goes to the Movies, we are rolling along in November with Animated Movie Month. Coming up next, dropping November 11th, is My Neighbor Totoro, which I'll be joined by Harrison from the Basement Binge. Always a blast when Harrison and I get to collaborate on an episode. So that'll be next, My Neighbor Totoro. Looking forward to hearing his thoughts on that movie. And we're going to keep rolling here with such movies as Into the Spider-Verse, Howl's Moving Castle, the TMNT animated movie, Toy Story 3, just to name a few more. So, listeners, thanks for tuning in. Always a pleasure. Continue to send those thoughts on the next movies that are going to be coming out. And until next time, thanks for listening.